News First, Newsline Prime with Faraz Shaukatali.
And a very good evening to you and welcome to Newsline Prime. Live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And what a lovely day it's turned out to be. Actually, the weather in Sri Lanka, our beautiful Sri Lanka, isn't that too bad, is it? It's brilliant, actually. Well, the talk of the town must surely be the economy. The people seem to have long given up on politics, and the reality is the economy. And to discuss the economy, who better than a professor of business economics from the University of Colombo, right here with us, Professor H.D. Karunaratne. Very good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Faraz.
It's a great pleasure to have you here. And I'd like to start straight away by asking you for your candid opinion, for your candid take on the state of Sri Lanka's economy.
Yeah, the picture is not so clear in the case of Sri Lanka. The macroeconomy, we can see a lot of negative things recorded in recent past, particularly the last quarter of 2018. The economic growth rate has come down to less than 3%, 2.9%, and unemployment rate has started increasing. Meanwhile, the migration, the people going abroad, also has come down, and remittances are also coming down, while imports are increasing and exports are not much increasing. So what we can see that the long-term pattern has come to a short-term, a little bit aggressive way. So economy is not at a good condition at this moment.
And Professor Karunaratne, what can the government do? Let's have a look at the exchange rate. In January 2015, it was 131 approximately to the dollar.
Yes.
And today, it's approximately 181.
Yes.
181, 182, in that region. That's a lot of depreciation there.
Yes.
What needs to be done? What can be done? In fact, is there anything that can be done?
Yes, there is. The thing is that we know Sri Lanka is running with twin deficit. The one is the external deficit, where actually we import more, but we export less.
Right.
And so the time to time we know we import more and more with respect to vehicles and with respect to agricultural goods, and there are a lot of things what we can produce now we are importing. So when the imports are growing faster and faster, exports are not growing to that level, it is obvious that there is a balance of payment, balance of trade crisis. So that Sri Lanka is facing this external deficit. This is one of the main reasons, and we actually predicted to get more higher remittances to Sri Lanka, and that also not increasing as we expected. And of course, in 2015, the current government came into power. They expected that huge amount of foreign investment will come, but as we expected, they haven't come in. So there is a serious gap between our earnings and payments. So
why do you think that investment hasn't come in? What are we doing wrong?
That's very interesting, because we know in Sri Lanka, even 1978, we were expecting to get higher level of foreign investment. We could not get it. One of the reasons behind that is we know the Sri Lankan macroeconomic climate has not been favorable. The basic thing is that all the time there is no consistent policy is one thing. The policies are changing time to time. So in international community, all the time indicating that our policies are inconsistent and changing time to time, so there is no confidence, investor confidence. And long run, we thought that there will be solution after the war. There will be foreign investors coming here after the war, but they haven't come it. So
why was that?
The main reason behind, because the cost is rising in Sri Lanka, one thing, the cost of production. Because when I talked to some Japanese investors, they told me directly, okay, tell me what are the advantages if we come to your country? What are the advantages you can give us? Do you have enough skilled labor? Do you, can you guarantee us the prices will not increase in next year or the following year? Or your inflation rate, can't you keep it less than 5% for longer period? So these are basic questions that after 1978, we can see that there were even double-digit inflation for certain years. But nowadays, little bit inflation has come down because of this global oil price has come down, and Sri Lanka also oil prices has come down. So this may be a reason where we are running now about 3%, less than 3% inflation rate. If we could keep that from 1978, that was a plus factor, definitely for foreign direct investment. So high inflation was one of the reasons why we could not attract the foreign investors to Sri Lanka. And the policy inconsistency, as I told. And our priority is not giving for manufacturing sector, because mostly the foreign investors going abroad in other countries going to directly for manufacturing sectors. In Sri Lanka, the manufacturing is not so strong. So we are asking them to come for either supply for local market or for services industry. So these are the things we expect.
But since 1978, or since 77, under President Jayawardena, when he changed the complete outlook and went for the open market system, between then and today, isn't it sad that we don't have any really big FDI players here? I mean, yes, we have a world-famous lingerie manufacturer here. We have the international brand-named hotels here. But what I mean is, where is the big-ticket foreign companies that are here using our skilled labor, maybe 2,000-3,000 and more workers? We don't have these big-ticket items. But what are we doing wrong?
Good example that think about when Toyota came to India, they advertised to recruit 800 engineers. They got 54,000 applications. But assume if big company come into Sri Lanka advertising to get 1,000 engineers, do we have 1,000 engineers to supply?
Surely we must have.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, because we don't have enough professionals in this country. The problem is that each and every profession, we create only limited number of supply. The professional institutes we have to reform first and most importantly in Sri Lanka.
But when you look at the medical side, when somebody tried to introduce a private university for that, there was an almighty outcry.
Medical, that you can see, but even that is only medical. But if you see about engineering, if you see about the accounting, if you see about the law, all other professions, we can see there are about 4,000, 5,000 students registering for their professional institutes, but they pass out only 100 students or 200 students. So even engineering. So we need more engineers, we need more science-based graduates.
Do we have enough opportunity for them to work thereafter, or will they train here and then go abroad?
That's what, because now the work of the world is global. It's not only Sri Lanka. If we can now say chartered accountants, we have produced about, I think, 4,000 to 5,000 chartered accountants. Over 1,000 chartered accountants are in Australia, Canada, other countries. So if we can produce more professionals rather than university graduates, I hope that they can find employment opportunity easily. We can easily link to now the port city is coming. Do we have enough professionals to work in port city? We are not planning. That's one of the important things. Otherwise they will bring the specialists from the China. So close by, the port city will be very close by. We can go by bus. But the problem is not enough skill as well as professional workers in Sri Lanka.
Is that you're also the professor for in the business side?
Yes.
And so, is that the problem?
That is also one important problem.
We are lacking professionals in government.
Yes, that is also an issue where the policy making.
Yes, because here we have people. The policy making sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
They say the right things, and so the people think, oh well, that's good. But the actual practice is that some of these key jobs are given on the basis of brotherhood, party membership, who you know in government.
That's also actually political intervention in the public sector.
That's right. So there's political intervention even in the public sector, certainly in big value, high value items like Sri Lankan Airlines, for example, and where we have people who are brothers of others and so on. I know everybody is a brother and a son of somebody, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is that just because your brother is a senior person in the party structure or even in government is not a qualification to be considered for a plum job, a responsible job like running the national airline.
True, I think in this regard, I hope that recently I see that the government has issued, particularly President has issued a circular to appoint the even chairmans. There should be at least some certain things, criteria. Yeah. It's a good way. I think we have to move that way because all the public sector organizations also, we need this professionalism.
But every time the president tries to do something, his political partners pull the rug out of under his feet, and so he you know, we take one step forward and two steps back.
True, but those are the ways we can anyway change. We have to have public opinion, also to have the professionals should run this country. So even we can't expect the foreign investors to come here unless we have enough skilled labor, unless we have the professional enough professionals running even public and private sector organizations. There's a severe shortage. I think the economic outlook, economic outcome will depend on the performance of the education sector.
Right.
How we train the people for next 5 years, next 10 years is very important, very important. We are not trying to deregulate the professional institutes in Sri Lanka. I think they produce less number of, it is not even enough for Sri Lankan market, less number of professionals are created in this country.
Still less.
It's still less. It's not enough. We want more. Because they can even work many places now. Now, for example, if you listen to that, these days
but some of these big jobs or key jobs, critical jobs,
yes,
in the state side of, in state enterprises is given on the basis of not of your professional qualification or your professional experience, but more because you know somebody who knows somebody who's the minister or whatever.
That's what actually the political interference is not so good. But the mainly private investments, when we talk about the foreign investment, we need this kind of the professional category people more. So that's why I think education we have to think about. Now we have 10,000 schools in Sri Lanka. Still 6,000 schools are taught only in Sinhala language. 3,000 schools are taught only in Tamil language. Only 1,000, less than 1,000 schools are teaching English and Sinhala or Sinhala and Tamil or Tamil and English.
Right.
So how can we train the people for the next decade or next 2 decades in Sri Lanka? So we need how many languages? Now when we go abroad, I have about 12 years experience in Japan. So you can see what they're asking, that how many languages you can speak? That's number one question. So how about your ICT competency? And how about your financial literacy? And how about your networking? How about your innovation and entrepreneurship? So these are considered as a literacy today. So what we usually call literacy means only reading and writing ability.
Yeah.
But that's not
that's in the old days.
That's in the old days.
Right.
So therefore, even next 2 decades or after 3 decades, are we training our school or our university or our professional people enough for the country? So this is a labor shortage. We are talking about quantitative shortage, but qualitative shortage is, I think, huge, huge. Now, even if we go for GCE O-level examination, 600,000 sat on the December.
Yeah.
But probably we know 200,000 going to fail. Every year, 30% of GCE O-level students fail. So what are we doing for these 200,000 people? Are we training them for skill jobs? For example, last week there was a World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
The Japanese Prime Minister announced that within next 5 years, they are going to recruit 340,000 skilled workers to Japan. Skilled workers like plumbers, welders, even caregivers.
Yeah. So how's our training centers doing?
Yeah, that's what.
Are they having enough students?
That's what, in Sri Lankan case, that's what we have to query. I don't think that we are producing such skilled labor. So we are not training skilled labor, we are not producing more professionals, then the education has become a deadlock to economy. So I think the foreign investors, they know about what is happening in Sri Lanka.
I see.
Yeah.
Tell me, Professor Karunaratne, how do we balance out political instability versus investment invitations? How do we attract investment when there is no political stability?
Very interesting question. I think since 1978, after liberalization, we had this issue where our political instability, at the beginning we told about the war, but now it has come into our usual political arena. Actually, we need to have either political institutions, which are including the party politics, which should have kind of a agreement where we are going ahead. And political system is, we know it's corrupted and there are a lot of issues.
Yeah.
So we need to come out from that. That's a serious issue. Actually, it's very clearly mentioned that there is a book very recently published that is called Why Nations Fail. Why Nations Fail. So the main conclusion given by the Why Nations Fail book is that because of extractive institutions, countries are failing. So in Sri Lanka, there are many institutions which are extractive institutions. The extractive means they're dominated by minor groups. So therefore these institutions are not friendly for the country's development. So therefore I think institutional reform is essential for Sri Lanka. Now you see these days Sena caterpillar issue is there. How many university agriculture faculties coming out and saying that we have a solution? How many research institutes coming out and say...
But that's the problem, isn't it? In Sri Lanka, we are going, every year we have some sort of disaster or another. Some of these are obviously not man-made.
Yeah.
And so we have a choice. We can either curl up in a corner and watch it and say, well, this is an act of God, what can we do?
True, actually.
Or we can get off our do-nothing seat and be prepared to respond like that when there is a disaster.
True. Actually, there are two kinds of disasters, as you correctly pointed out, man-made disasters and natural disasters.
Yeah.
The Sri Lanka, of course, is subject to both. The natural disasters we have a lot because of this climate change and, of course, the flooding and all these we have. But disaster preparedness is a very lacking thing in Sri Lanka. Because, of course, as many people have said that the Sri Lankans forget many things soon. So when there is a disaster...
That's right. We're a bit myopic in yesterday's murderers and rapists are today's legislators.
That's what.
So that might be putting it too harshly, but it's like that.
It's like that, definitely. That of course the man-made disasters, we know now the traffic jam or the solid waste management. There are a lot of issues coming around, so which are negatively influenced on even tourism sector, even foreign investment, also negatively influencing. So therefore we need to concern about the disaster, one area where we need to have disaster mitigation actions, policy formulation, and practically we need to think about, we have to have this disaster preparedness in Sri Lanka.
Now tell me, Professor Karunaratne, how many students are there in this business faculty?
Yeah, in the Faculty of Management and Finance, we have about 2,500 undergraduates and 550 about postgraduates.
Do you have the capacity to take more people on?
Yeah, we have, but there are some infrastructure issues. Otherwise, that now our human resource also increasing, so we have more capacity. I think we will increase.
And you must be knowing about it. Your graduates, how many of them do not get jobs?
Actually, in Colombo management faculty, about 98% employed when they come for the convocation.
Okay.
That because, you know, in 2002, from the 2002 onwards, we introduced curriculum reform, and only our courses, all courses are conducting only in English medium after 2002.
Right.
And we get quite high set score students coming to our classes, and our environment is totally different than the large scale the students going into arts faculty doing in their mother tongue, and there are a lot of issues. Yeah, of course the university education should be expanded, because we know in Sri Lanka between 19 years to 23 years old, only 7% people go into universities. 93% they don't have opportunity to go to universities. But it should not be only universities.
Because what? Money, or?
Because the public sector universities doesn't have spaces and all these to accommodate, so only 7% go in. But I think there are another two areas, as I correctly pointed out at the very beginning. One is the skill development sector, the other one is the professional sector. We need to reform professional education in Sri Lanka because economic performance will depend on highly the labor force performance. So in Sri Lanka, the contribution made by labor to the GDP is not so impressive. It's not so impressive. Yeah. So therefore, we need to have more professionals in the country. We need to have more skilled population in the country, rather than just graduates producing more and more graduates.
I thought you were going to say producing more and more children without opportunities for them to...
True, and the curriculum is also very important, because now they can work in globally. There are many students going into Australia, Canada, and like that. But it is not the solution for the country. We need to have our own organizations to develop this country. So anyway, the education is one of the key area we have to reform and redesign to get the foreign investment in future.
Now, tell me, there's another, we get questions here from our listeners. One of them is asking something quite valid, actually. With all these foreign projects here and so on, how do your students view these foreigners? Are they willing, when they graduate, to be working under the foreigners?
Yes, in our case it's okay, because all 4 years they do it in English language. They don't have language barrier, and since it is business and management, we teach them accountancy and the economics and professional things. So they are very much willing to do, and even they are doing their own businesses as well.
But your students, are they ready and willing to work under a different country's representative, a foreigner basically?
Yeah, because that you see when they work for multinational corporations, they are doing that. They are working with foreigners easily. And of course, we have to train them to work in the port city in future, because port city is coming, and we are in the University of Colombo. We believe that our premier responsibility is to supply enough labor, professional labor, to this close by economic zone.
So have you spoken, what proactive steps are you taking on behalf of your students?
Yeah, actually we have introduced new curricula and new ways of teaching and languages, and there are a lot of foreign students coming, and we have signed MOUs. There are a lot of new challenges we have taken. I hope that it will work very nicely. Only thing that the infrastructure expenditure is not sufficient. So if we have more infrastructure, we can provide a better, larger number of students a better education.
And how hopeful are you that all these things will materialize soon?
Yeah, it's actually.
And how soon is soon?
Yeah, that's the critical issue, where actually we are not depending only the government income. We generate our own income also, and the postgraduate education. And we have got recently 100 million grants to establish Business and Entrepreneurial Research Center in the University of Colombo, Faculty of Management and Finance. Right. So our proposal is to have research with the students going into industry and have link between industry and the faculty. And this will help to develop the country in future.
Wonderful. And finally, I want to take you to another contentious issue, the Colombo Stock Exchange. It seems to be stuck in some sort of time warp. Nothing's much happening.
Yes.
Net outflows.
It is expected, I hope. It's expected, because now the main thing happened in last 3-4 years is the consumer confidence, investor confidence, the public confidence is losing in this country. As many rating organizations pointed out correctly, in our country, we can see the confidence is going down. So when the confidence is going down, even the prices are low, they don't respond to low prices. So even foreign investors are not coming because the confidence is the issue. But so we need to create a confidence.
A lot of Sri Lanka's better stocks are actually under par.
Under par, because I think everything depends on the confidence. Where they don't have confidence to invest, they don't know what will happen to the dollar value, what will happen to the interest rate in future, what will happen to the country situation. So therefore, people are reluctant to invest on the share market.
Professor Karunaratne, it's been wonderful talking to you and listening to your take on economy, but it's an important subject. I hope that you'll be able to come on our network's Face the Nation program, where it's much longer, and we have more time to discuss in depth these critical matters, these matters of national import, which we need to pay attention to, even if the politicians are not doing that. Professionals like you need to be continuously batting out there and putting the information out there. Professor Karunaratne, thank you very much, and it's marvelous that you come from a place where our youth are being trained and taught, and for that great kudos and much respect. Thank you. And that's the way it was on Newsline Prime this evening. Take care, and we'll see you again on Monday morning at 7 a.m. with yet another guest, and where we shall be hoping to ask them questions which matter to you, the people, the most. Take care, have a wonderful weekend, and God bless.
Thank you.
News First, Newsline Prime with